The Burial Within Town Limits Act. Arrangement of sections. So we will go through those sections. The Burial Within Town Limits Act, 12th of March 1875. Section 1, short title. This act may be cited as the Burial Within Town's Limits Act. Section 2, sections 114 and 115 of Parish Councils Act, Incorporated. Sections 114 and 115 of the Parish Councils Act, which deals with the power of parish council to define the limits of towns or villages within their parishes, are incorporated with and form part of this Act. Section 3. Burials in towns other than in recognized burial places prohibited. It shall not be lawful to bury a dead body within the limits of any town or village which may have been defined for the purposes of this Act in any ground or place, not being a parish burial ground or a vault in a church, chapel, or place of worship wherein burials may lawfully be made, or a burial ground belonging to any such church, chapel, or place of worship, or ground habitually used as a place of burial by members of any sect or congregation without license from the local board of health, or without such precautions as such local board of health may prescribe as the condition of the license. So you're not allowed, it is illegal to bury a dead body without a license and in a place that's not listed here, or if you're prohibited otherwise. Right? Section 4. Penalty for offenses against previous section. Every person who, in contravention of the provisions of this Act, shall knowingly and willfully bury any body, or in any wise act or assist in the burial of any body in any ground or place in which burials are by this Act prohibited, or who shall neglect to observe the precautions prescribed as a condition of the license for the burial of any body, shall, on conviction before a court of summary jurisdiction, forfeit and pay for every such offense a sum not exceeding $20. So if you bury a body and you are not permitted to by law, the judge will fine you up to $20. Whether you want to pay it using $21 coins or $4 or $5 coins or two $10 coins or a $20 coin, you must pay the fine. Section 5. Depth of graves. No coffin containing a corpse shall, within the limits of any town or village which may have been defined for the purposes of this Act, be buried in any grave, not being a vault or catacomb, without at least 42 inches of soil between the ordinary surface of such burial ground and the upper side of the coffin. So the distance from the surface of the ground, not the surface where you pile up some dirt, but the ordinary surface. That would be before it was disturbed. The ordinary surface down to the top of the coffin must be at least 42 inches. That's 12 trees 36. That's 3 feet 6 inches or more. And if the person having the preparation of or the immediate charge of the preparation of the grave to receive such coffin permit the coffin to be buried in such grave, or if the person having the control of the burial ground knowingly permit any coffin to be buried in any grave in which there is not left after the burial thereof 42 inches at the least of soil, measuring from the ordinary surface of the burial ground to the upper side of the coffin, the person having the immediate charge of the preparation of the grave, and the person having the control of the burial ground in which such burial is made, shall for every such offense, that means if you allow it to happen, you shall be liable to a penalty not exceeding $20. Section 6. Power of inspection by local board of health. The local board of health may, for the purposes of this act, empower any medical officer of health or inspector of nuisances to enter at all reasonable hours in the daytime upon any building or lands within their respective districts for the purposes of inspection, and no such local board nor any such officer or inspector so empowered shall be liable to any legal proceeding on account of any such entry. So no one can sue the inspector for coming onto the premises, provided that no such entry upon any private property shall be made unless with the consent of the occupier until after the expiration of 12 hours notice for that purpose given to the occupier. Okay, so if the burial ground is a private one, then the owners should be notified at least 12 hours before the visit for inspection. Section 7. Obstructing medical officer. Every person who shall obstruct any medical officer of health or other person in the performance of anything which he may be empowered to do under the provisions of this act shall for every such offense be liable to a penalty not exceeding $20. So if you obstruct the medical officer, you can be fined by the court. Fined $20, well, or less, not exceeding $20. Section 8. No new burial places to be opened without license. No grounds or places within the limits for the time being so defined as aforesaid of any town or village of this island not already open or used as burial grounds or place of burial shall be so open or used without a license from the local board of health. Penalties for offenses against previous section. Every person opening or using or assisting in the opening of any fresh or new burial ground or place of burial contrary to this act shall be guilty of a misdemeanor, and on conviction shall be liable to imprisonment or fine or both. Section 10. Discontinuance of burials in specified towns or burial grounds. The minister may from time to time order that at a time to be mentioned in the order, burials within the limits of any one or more of the towns or villages of this island, or not specified in such order, or in any particular burial grounds or place of burial shall be discontinued wholly, or subject to any exceptions or qualifications mentioned in such order. And so from time to time, as circumstances may require. So in that case, an entire cemetery can be closed down by the health department or part of it. Section 11. Modification of orders for discontinuance. Every such order may at any time be rescinded, altered, or modified as the minister may think proper, and notwithstanding any such order, it shall be lawful for the minister, in any special cases, to permit particular burials to take place within any prohibited limits. Section 12. Notices before orders for discontinuance, etc. Before any such order or any rescission, alteration, or modification of any order shall be so made as aforesaid, notice of the intention to take into consideration the subject of discontinuing burials in the particular towns or villages to be affected, and of the time when the same will be taken into consideration, shall be published in the Gazette at least 1 month before the time fixed for taking the same into consideration. And each such notice shall contain a statement of the substance of the order intended to be subjected for consideration. Section 13. Publication of orders. Every such order and every rescission, alteration, and modification of any such order shall be published in the Gazette, and shall not come into effect until after the expiration of at least 1 month after such publication thereof. Section 14. Burials in contravention of order and without special permission, misdemeanor. It shall not be lawful after the time mentioned in any such order, and after such publication of the said order for the period prescribed, to bury the dead in any church, chapel, churchyard, or burial place, or elsewhere within the limits to which such order shall extend, or in the burial grounds or places of burial, as the case may be, in which burials shall by such order have been ordered to be discontinued, except as in such order any alteration or modification thereof accepted, or as specifically permitted under the provisions of this Act. So it is illegal to bury a body while there is a stop order and burial in the place where you bury the body. And every person who shall, after such time and period as aforesaid, bury any body, or in any wise act or assist in the burial of any body contrary to this enactment, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor and punishable on conviction by fine or imprisonment, or both. Section 15. Penalties. How enforceable? All penalties imposed by this Act shall be recovered summarily, and in default of payment, forthwith, or within such time as the court may allow. Such court may commit the offender to prison for a term not exceeding 6 months. Okay, so based on the figures given earlier, you have two choices. You either pay the $20 or spend 6 months in prison. Section 16. Remedies for nuisances not affected. Nothing herein contained shall affect any remedy at law or in equity or any civil or criminal liability for a nuisance, provided that no, so if you are guilty of creating a nuisance, you will be punished. And at the same time, if you break any of these laws, this section of this act, you will be punished. Now, provided that no person who shall be indicted and punished for any act hereby made punishable on summary conviction, or who shall be punished summarily for an offense under the provisions of this act, shall be liable to be twice punished for the same offense. Okay, so the one offense can create a nuisance as well as a violation of this act, but it doesn't mean that you will be punished separately for both. You will not be punished twice for the same offense. Alright, so that was the Burial Within Town Limits Act.